What is going on, guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we have another video, and topic for today's video is the final settings of my F1 game, the F1 22 game. At least for this game, I wanted to give you a final update if anything has changed or not, because some of you are interested and are always asking for my wheel settings, for anything, literally anything regarding what I'm doing in the game to drive as fast as I am. So first of all, of course, all assists are turned on. Then we are heading to the on-screen display. I'm gonna show you that in the game as well if we go on time trial. But yeah, first thing, I have KPH, full track map, really important. Otherwise you won't get the full experience and you won't see where your rivals are currently on track. Delta time, I would also leave it on for data, especially in quali. Proximity arrows are also always useful. Driver checks, you can turn them off if you feel like it distracts you to see a name, but it's not mandatory, like you don't have to. Then the virtual rear view mirror, I actually turned it off. You can have it on, you can have it off, it's all down to your preference. Permanent session time, I would always have it on. Oh, I feel like I have to sneeze. Okay, there we go. Permanent session timer, I would always have this on, because it is beneficial. You will always see in practice and quali how many minutes remaining. You don't have to wait until the final 5 minutes. And the display objective panel is anyways just for, I think, career mode, so I have that anyways turned off. I don't like that. Coming to my wheel settings, that's the magic thing. You can pause if you want to check the buttons. I have a Fanatec DD1. Yes, the only thing that I basically mapped is looking left and right on my left stick. Aside from that, there's nothing. Just checking if we're actually recording. On the calibration, because of the V2 pedals, they always have a little bit of input and it's quite easy to get on it. I have a brake dead zone of 5, so that I don't stomp on the brakes and I don't always hold the brakes on the straights, but I can still press it really hard and nice if I need to brake. In the force feedback settings, I have everything turned on, of course. 85 force feedback, the rest is turned off, and understeer enhance is also off. Maximum wheel rotation 300. I'm currently running 310. This one doesn't affect your Fanatec, so it doesn't really matter what you have here. Heading over the generic settings, I would always put my overtake ERS mode on hold. It's more accurate, it's also more realistic, and yeah, you don't have to be lazy and press it once, right? Hold it, it's more precise. You will also use it less. It's a good thing. Going to my graphic settings, I have everything turned down to ultra low, just for maximum FPS and stability. Texture streaming, I have it on low and not on ultra low because it makes the game look a little bit nicer. And I think also I would always turn wet effects and particles from low to off, because then you don't have the raindrops when it's raining on PC. And lighting quality, I would usually put it to medium. I don't know why I didn't have that. It just makes the game look a little bit nicer. This makes such a difference, and it barely affects the FPS. Especially if you do what I'm doing, and that is motion blur on 0. That's not what I meant. But 60 FPS. That is the secret. In F1 22, it affects the ride height, it affects physics, it affects your force feedback. Everything is determined by your FPS. So the physics are connected to the FPS, and if you have it on 60, it's faster than if you have it uncapped. So don't go over 60. Anything underneath is okay, but at least you have to run 60 FPS to benefit and go faster. It's on some tracks it's more, on some tracks it's less, but it makes a nice overcurve, so I would heavily recommend it if you don't run it yet. Yeah, still run the full refresh rate that your monitor is capable of. Aside from that, 16x anisotropic filtering and anti-aliasing, I have that on TAA, and Fidelity FX sharpening, just because the game looks nicer with it. Alright, audio settings. Master volume on 4, just because of my stream settings and everything, how I set it up with my speakers, but that's all individual. I have the driver onboard mix. Engineer ducking on light, I don't know if I changed anything there. And audio simulation quality on ultra low, that's very beneficial to make your PC run a bit better. Push to talk, I would always turn it on, mute on default as well, mute by default also, just because if you join an online lobby, it's gonna be less of an annoying situation. Radio verbosity, put it to responses only, so Jeff doesn't talk to you, otherwise you're asking for something or it's something really beneficial. He will still tell you a new strategy is available, but he's not gonna tell you during a qualifying lap, oh yeah, 1 lap of fuel remaining, or something like that, because I don't want that. And the music type is theme, because otherwise I would get in copyright issue trouble. Right, that is it for now. Let's head on track and check out the camera settings and my OSD settings. And that's already everything on F1 22. So let's jump on track for the OSD settings, also my camera settings, of course. So you're all interested in that. And at the end of the video, I will also show you my Fanatec settings. So this is my OSD at the moment, which you usually see in my videos. I've changed literally today for the first time my OSD a little bit. Like the minimap is at a different position, just so everything else looks a bit more clean. And I can move the camera into a corner. Right, so first of all, camera settings. These are my camera settings. Field of view is really dependent on your distance to the monitor and what you feel is right to you, but the rest you can copy for sure. Mirror angle, everything else, copy. But let's talk about a different camera, because I believe I have the best cockpit cam settings in the game. Like, they look so good. I would literally race with that in esports if there wouldn't be a downside to it. I really think they are great. You still have a little bit of, like, look at this. If you check the apex, you can still see the corner, even though there are these winglets or however you call them. You can still see pretty much everything, and you still feel like you're sitting inside a cockpit. So I think that's quite realistic if you are a driver that sits a little bit higher and you don't want the downside of sitting too low. Like, some drivers like to sit a little bit higher in the cockpit, and this setting is pretty much perfect for that. So, let me show you. Alright, here we go. So these are the cockpit cam settings. Took me a little bit, but here we are, so try them out. I don't know if they work the same on every car, because of course the wheelbases are a different length, it looks a bit different, but maybe you need to adjust it slightly. It's still really good in a Mercedes, it works amazing, and yeah, try them out. They are actually really good to race with, because you can still see a lot. And this is already it. Let's have a look at the Fanatec settings. Alright, here we go. They've changed a little bit how this looks. I could show it in full screen back in the days, now I can't anymore. Basically, at the moment, wheel steering angle is whatever you want to use. The FFB, with these settings, I would run it on 80 if you run peak. If you run it linear, you can run it way higher. With natural damper, it just makes it a little bit nicer on the transitioning phase. And if the wheel snaps, it's not as brutal. So 15 is quite nice. Also feels nice under acceleration. You can also up it to 20 or to 10. Depends on what you like. The natural friction is a similar thing, but a little bit different. If you turn it on, you can see what it does. It adds a little bit more weight to the wheel. The inertia I never touched before. I think the interpolation on 3 is quite good. That's also what they recommend from Fanatec regarding the game, just so it's not as rough. I sometimes liked it off. I sometimes liked it on higher values. All depends on your wheel settings. The force intensity, so the FEI, I would have it on 100 if you can. If it's too rumbly, lower it click by click to see when you feel like it's not just rumbling on the straights and going over curbs. Gives you a little bit more sensation from the game itself. The force effect settings, I would have it similar to the normal force feedback strength, maybe a little bit lower, never higher, because otherwise it snaps too much. And yeah, spring damper turned off, auto for the MPS, for the shock wheel vibration motor on. BRF I have it on 55, and yeah, my brake is set up by 385s and 175 brake rubber. So the 75 is at front. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, hit the bell, check out the socials, and I will see you in the next video. If you found this helpful, this is kind of not fitting, so I will just leave it and wish you a lovely day. See you. You're Marcel. Peace.